Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Kishoranandana Prajajana Ganjana Kishoranandana Prajajana Ganjana Muna Tira Panachari Jamuna Tira Panachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jashodanandana Prajajana Ganjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Om Vishnupad Pranamhansa Paripradakacharya Stotra Srishvijana A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Shamaraj Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Sakaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vashari Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai Sri Sri Radha Krishna Gopinath Sham Mukund Radha Kundi Govardhan Ki Jai Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Navadip Dham Ki Jai Jagannath Puri Ki Jai Ganga Mai Ki Jai Jamana Mai Ki Jai Tulsi Devi Ki Jai Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Samaveta Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. Gaur Premanande. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Now, from what I understand, you read from the verses, so you know how to do it. Carry on. A transcendentalist, having become disgusted and hopeless in all endeavors for material happiness, completely controls the senses and develops detachment. By spiritual practice, he should then fix the mind on the spiritual platform without deviation.
Whenever the mind, being concentrated on the spiritual platform, is suddenly deviated from its spiritual position, one should carefully bring it under the control of the self by following the practice.
One should never lose sight of the actual goal of mental activities, but rather conquering the life, air, and senses and utilizing intelligence strengthened by the mode of goodness. One should bring the mind under the control of the self.
An expert horseman, desiring to tame a headstrong horse, first lets the horse have his way for a moment and then, pulling the reins, gradually places the horse on the desired path. Similarly, the supreme yoga process is that by which one carefully observes the movements and desires of the mind and gradually brings them under full control.
Until one's mind is fixed in spiritual satisfaction, one should analytically study the temporary nature of all material objects, whether cosmic, earthly, or atomic. One should constantly observe the process of creation through the natural progressive function, and the process of annihilation through the regressive function.
When a person is disgusted with the temporary, illusory nature of this world and is thus detached from it, his mind, guided by the instructions of his spiritual master, considers again and again the nature of this world and eventually gives up the false identification with matter.
Through the various disciplinary regulations and purificatory procedures of the yoga system, through logic and spiritual education, or through worship and adoration of me, one should constantly engage his mind in remembering the personality of Godhead, the goal of yoga. No other means should be employed for this purpose.
If, because the momentary inattention, a yogi accidentally commits an abominable activity, then by the very practice of yoga, he should burn to ashes the sinful reaction, without at any time employing any other procedure. It is firmly declared that the steady adherence of transcendentalists to their respective spiritual positions constitutes real piety, and that sin occurs when a transcendentalist neglects his prescribed duty. One who adopts this standard of piety and sin, sincerely desiring to give up all past association with sense gratification, is able to subdue materialistic activities which are by nature impure.
Having awakened faith in the narrations of my glories, being disgusted with all material activities, knowing that all sense gratification leads to misery, but still being unable to renounce all sense enjoyment, my devotee should remain happy and worship me with great faith and conviction. Even though he is sometimes engaged in sense enjoyment, my devotee knows that all sense gratification leads to a miserable result, and he sincerely repents such activities.
When an intelligent person engages constantly in worshiping me through loving devotional service as described by me, his heart becomes firmly situated in me. Thus all material desires within the heart are destroyed.
When the heart is pierced, all misgivings are cut to pieces, and the chain of fruitive activities is terminated when I am seen as the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Therefore, for a devotee engaged in my loving service with mind fixed on me, the cultivation of knowledge and renunciation is generally not the means of achieving the highest perfection within this world.
Everything that can be achieved by fruitive activities, penance, knowledge, detachment, mystic yoga, charity, religious duties, and all other means of perfecting life is easily achieved by my devotee through loving service unto me. If somehow or other my devotee desires promotion to heaven, liberation, or residence in my abode, he easily achieves such benedictions.
Because my devotee possesses saintly behavior and deep intelligence, they completely dedicate themselves to me and do not desire anything besides me. Indeed, even if I offer them liberation from birth and death, they do not accept it.
It is said that complete detachment is the highest stage of freedom. Therefore, one who has no personal desire and does not pursue personal rewards can achieve loving devotional service unto me.
Material piety and sin, which arise from the good and evil of this world, cannot exist within my unalloyed devotees, who, being free from material hankering, maintain steady spiritual consciousness in all circumstances. Indeed, such devotees have achieved me, the Supreme Lord, who am beyond anything that can be conceived by material intelligence.
Om Jnanatimirantasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurimiditam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Sthapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Shapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Jatapada Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavanscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Savana Raghunathan Vitam Stam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savatutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitanscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kamshana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hori Priye Vanchakolpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhobhyevacha Paditanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So you're taking one or two verses, no? Yes. And our end time? 8:30. 8:30-ish. This is text 27-28. Jata Shraddho Matkatasu Nirvinna Sarva Karmasu Veda Dukatmakan Kaman Parityage Pyanisharaha Tato Pacheta Mam Prita Shraddhalur Vritanishchayaha Jushamanas Chatan Kaman Duko Darkam Stragarhayan. You read the word for word? Okay. Shraddha, faith. Madkatasu, in the descriptions of my glories. Nirvinnaha, disgusted, sarva, with all, karmasu, activities, veda, he knows, dukkha, misery, atmakan, constituted of, kaman, all types of sense gratification, parityage, in the process of renouncing, he, although, anisharaha, unable, tataha, due to such faith, ajayata, he should worship, mam, me, pritaha, remaining happy, shraddhaluhu, being faithful, Dhritta, resolute, nishchayaha, conviction, drishamanaha, engaging in, cha, also, tan, that, kaman, sense gratification, dukkha, misery, udarkam, leading to, cha, also, arhayan, repenting of. Having awakened faith in narrations of my glories, being disgusted with all material activities, knowing that all sense gratification leads to misery, but still being unable to renounce all sense enjoyment, my devotee should remain happy and worship me with great faith and conviction. Even though he's sometimes engaged in sense enjoyment, my devotee knows that all sense gratification leads to a miserable result, and he sincerely repents such activities. Purport. The beginning stage of pure devotional service is described here by the Lord. A sincere devotee has practically seen that all material activities lead only to sense gratification, and all sense gratification leads only to misery. Thus, a devotee's sincere desire is to engage 24 hours a day in the loving service of Lord Krishna without any personal motivation. The devotee sincerely desires to be established in his constitutional position as the Lord's eternal servitor, and he prays to the Lord to elevate him to this exalted position. The word anishara indicates that because of one's past sinful activities and bad habits, one may not immediately be able to completely extinguish the enjoying spirit. The Lord here encourages such a devotee not to be overly depressed or morose, but to remain enthusiastic and to go on with his loving service. The word nirvinna indicates that a sincere devotee, although somewhat entangled in the remnants of sense gratification, is completely disgusted with material life and under no circumstances willingly commits sinful activities. In fact, he avoids every kind of materialistic activity. The word kaman basically refers to sex attraction and its byproducts in the form of children, home, and so forth. Within the material world, the sex impulse is so strong that even a sincere candidate in the loving service of the Lord may sometimes be disturbed by sex attraction or by lingering sentiments for wife and children. A pure devotee certainly feels spiritual affection for all living entities, including the so-called wife and children. But he knows that material bodily attraction leads to no good, for it simply entangles one and one's so-called relatives in a miserable chain reaction of fruitive activities. The word dridha nishchaya, steadfast conviction, indicates that in any circumstance, a devotee is completely determined to go on with his prescribed duties for Krishna. Thus he thinks, by my previous shameful life, my heart is polluted with many illusory attachments. Personally, I have no power to stop them. Only Lord Krishna within my heart can remove such inauspicious contamination. But whether the Lord removes such attachments immediately or lets me go on being afflicted by them, I will never give up my devotional service to him. Even if the Lord places millions of obstacles in my path, and even if because of my offenses I go to hell, I will never for a moment stop serving Lord Krishna. I'm not interested in mental speculation and fruitive activities. Even if Lord Brahma personally comes before me, offering such engagements, I will not be even slightly interested. Although I am attached to material things, I can see very clearly that they lead to no good, because they simply give me trouble and disturb my devotional service to the Lord. Therefore, I sincerely repent my foolish attachments to so many material things, and I am patiently awaiting Lord Krishna's mercy. The word prita indicates that a devotee feels exactly like the son or subject of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and is very attached to his relationship with the Lord. Therefore, although sincerely lamenting occasional lapses into sense enjoyment, he never gives up his enthusiasm to serve Lord Krishna. If a devotee becomes too morose or discouraged in devotional service, he may drift into an impersonal consciousness or give up his devotional service to the Lord. Therefore, the Lord here advises that although one should sincerely repent, he should not become chronically depressed. One should understand that because of his past sins, he must occasionally suffer disturbances from the material mind and senses. But one should not, therefore, become a devotee of detachment, as do the speculative philosophers. Although one may desire detachment to purify one's devotional service to the Lord, if one becomes more concerned with renunciation than with acting for the pleasure of Lord Krishna, he's misunderstanding the position of loving devotional service. Faith in Lord Krishna is so powerful that in due course of time it will automatically award detachment and perfect knowledge. If one gives up Lord Krishna as the central object of one's worship and concentrates more on knowledge and detachment, one will become deviated from one's progress in going back home, back to Godhead. A sincere devotee of the Lord must be sincerely convinced that simply by the strength of devotional service and the mercy of Lord Krishna, he will achieve everything auspicious in life. One must believe that Lord Krishna is all merciful and that he is the only real goal of one's life. Such determined faith, combined with a sincere desire to give up sense enjoyment, will carry one past the obstacles of this world. The words jata shraddha matkatasu are most significant here. By faithful hearing of the mercy and glories of the Lord, one will gradually be freed from all material desire and clearly see at every moment the utter frustration of sense gratification. Chanting the glories of the Lord with firm faith and conviction is a tremendously powerful spiritual process that enables one to give up all material association. There's actually nothing inauspicious in the devotional service of the Lord. Occasional difficulties experienced by a devotee are due to his previous material activities. On the other hand, the endeavor for sense gratification is completely inauspicious. Thus, sense gratification and devotional service are directly opposed to each other. In all circumstances, one should therefore remain the Lord's sincere servant, always believing in his mercy. Then one will certainly go back home, back to God. Ajata Shraddha Bhatkatasu. By hearing about Krishna Katha, the science of Krishna, one becomes nirvinna, sarvakarmas, becomes disgusted with material life. It's just nasty, frustrating, pointless, stupid, painful. Matkatasu, because he's enlightened by hearing about Krishna. Matkatasu, Jata Shraddha is, yes, he develops faith. Shraddha, he becomes convinced that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, that devotional service is the real business of the living being. He understands his position as spirit, not matter, and he sees the uselessness of trying to enjoy material things, material sense gratification. And yes, he knows Veda Dukant Makam Kama. He knows that all of these activities for sense enjoyment are Dukatmaka. They're just trouble from beginning to end. Dukkha means misery. Yehi samsparshaja bhoga dukkha yoni evate. The bhoga, the so-called enjoyment of putting the senses together with the sense objects, is just a source of misery. The more we try to enjoy, the more we suffer. Then someone says, no, it's not. You may think it's suffering. I don't think it's suffering. I think it's nice. I'm enjoying. Then Krishna says, Adyantavanta Pantiya. It has a beginning, it has an end. So, Nateshu Ramate Bhuta, anyone who's actually intelligent doesn't waste his time on this kind of business. It's going to be over. It's a bubble. It's 2 minutes happiness, and then that's it. So why should I work my whole life just for such paltry sense gratification, which, even if you don't believe that it's miserable, which it is, has a beginning and an end. The soul has no beginning and end. And this happiness, so-called, has a beginning and end, so it's not going to satisfy me. Nateshu ramate bhuta. So an intelligent person doesn't try to enjoy material sense gratification. He tries to serve Krishna. So Dukhatmakam Veda, he knows this is all rubbish, miserable. This is what's making my life, my pursuit of happiness, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness is what's making me miserable. I'm always pursuing happiness. I'm not actually getting happiness. I have the liberty to pursue happiness. And when I get the thing that I think is going to make me happy, it's a letdown. Or worse than a letdown, it's a source of pain, frustration, misery. So the devotee knows all these things. And therefore, parityage, he accepts the process of giving up all these things. Parityaga means, tyag means renouncing, and pari means on all sides. Enough of this, enough of this, enough of this, enough of that. He is in the process of giving up material life. But api, anishara. Anishara means not in control. He's trying to give up, but sometimes he gets overwhelmed by maya, by the power of the senses, because of his past entanglement in sense gratification, sinful activities, here it's said, because of his past misdeeds, his past bad habits. He thinks, I can't give it up. He's trying, he knows it's bad, but he gets overwhelmed. He can't control it. Tataha bhajetamam prita. But still, what should he do then? Commit suicide? Should he, what should he do? Just give up? Cash, what is the word? Cash out, just leave. Krishna says no. Bhajetamam, he should go on with his devotional service. Otherwise, that's another kind of sense gratification. I'm so fallen, I'm so empty, I might as well go whole hog back into materialistic life. Krishna says no, carry on. In Nectar of Devotion, there's a similar instruction that if one falls down from the path of devotional service, he should pick himself up by the same devotional service. And that was stated in one of these verses. There's nothing more purifying than devotional service, so we shouldn't think, I better do a yajna, I better do a this, I better do a that, to atone for my... No, just serve. That's the best thing. Go on serving. There's an example that if someone falls on the ground, then he should pick himself up by the same ground. So, bhajetama, you should go on worshiping me, serving me. Prita, remaining happy, remaining affectionate to me. Shraddhalu, Vritanishchaya. And with firm determination, he should carry forward. That even if I have difficulties, still I'll push forward. Even if I fall down, and even if I fall down again, still I won't give up. I won't give up. He remains determined. Vritanishchaya. Nishchay means conviction. He's convinced Krishna consciousness is the right thing. I have to stick to it, however difficult it may be, however many problems or barriers or obstacles or failures. In sports, the same mentality is there for those who are the winning athletes. All right, I had a lousy game, all right, my practice isn't going very well. Still, I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it. In business also, those who are determined, they just stick to it. Of course, they don't stick to something stupid, they have to know what they're doing. But if they know, yes, this is the right thing, you just have to stick to it. I know there was some incident where the money was properly invested, but then the market went down and they sold at a quite a serious loss, because they lost faith in their financial advisor, who told them, "You just stick it out. You just stick it out, because it goes up, it goes down, but it's going to go up in the long term." So they sold, they had serious losses, and then it went back up again, and they missed out on what would have been long-term, exceedingly substantial gains, because they lost faith in their guru, who actually knew. They didn't know, so they got so they bailed out and lost. So Krishna says, Trita Nishchaya, you're doing the right thing. So just stick with it, don't bail out, continue. And if there's, sometimes the market goes down or things get rough, choppy, or you have difficulty, still remain fixed. Yes, I'm doing the right thing. Even though he may sometimes engage in sense gratification, he knows this is lousy, but what can I do? Still, dukkha udarkan shagarya. He knows I'm doing something stupid, and he doesn't justify it. Yeah, actually, you gotta. He knows that it was stupid. I just made myself miserable again. He doesn't try to make a philosophy out of it. And you need a little. No, he knows it was just stupid. And with that understanding, Garhyan, he repents that I'm so foolish, I'm so stupid, I'm so whatever. But still, I'm going to stick to it. It's not that, he justifies it and thinks coasting is good. That making a new philosophy. But he keeps his focus. The purpose is to serve Krishna. I won't just dive off into the cultivation of knowledge. I won't try to pretend to be a great renouncer. I'll just stick to Krishna's lotus feet, and Krishna will help me. Sooner or later, because I'm doing the right thing, Krishna will help me and I'll succeed. All right. Comments, questions?
Thank you so much. I have a quick comment and a quick question. Quick comment is. Sorry, I have a quick comment and a question. Comment is, I heard Bhakti Maharaj this morning. He was saying how atonement or repention has the same Sanskrit root as atonement or repention has the same root as fire. He explained this. That's why it's the word fire in Sanskrit. Yeah, I think it was either root or origin. Said it. So when we repent, that fire burns the reactions. I hope I heard it right in his class. But and the question is, I have. You said, well, also in the comment it says that one continues his devotional service and hopes that, like he has faith in Krishna that he will eventually remove.
I don't have the Oxford English Dictionary, which would trace it back and back and back and back. But it goes back to penitent, comes from Latin for I regret, paeniteo, I regret. I don't see any relation to fire. Maybe there is, but not as far as I can trace it here.
Again, I might have, it's either with the root or...
But Prabhupada does speak of the fire of repentance, so no harm.
So the question is, so when it says, Prabhupada says that one, if he continues his devotional service...
Well, I'm thinking of it though, but if we think about tapasya and all of that, then you get to fire. So maybe we're going from the Sanskrit and not from the English.
And the class was in Russian, so...
Sorry?
And the class was in Russian, so...
The class was in Russian. Okay, maybe we were going by the Russian instead of the Sanskrit.
So the question is, the devotee, he continues his devotional service and he has...
Could you go a little slower, because I'm not Russian.
Yeah. So the devotee has...
I'm sorry. But just a little slower and keep that microphone where it works.
So the devotee has faith.
Yes.
That as he continues his devotional service, devotional practice, eventually...
If he continues in his devotional service, then...
Eventually, Krishna will take away that attachments for material things.
Yes.
So my question is, and you said one has to continue on and have faith, but it's almost as if it's as if one may develop that thought that I don't have to make an effort.
Well, that's Maya.
To refuse or...
Vridha nishchaya means vridha vrata. Bhajante mam vridha vrata. Not that he thinks, I don't have to make an effort, I'll just wait for Krishna. And when he desires. If it were that, then he wouldn't give you any instructions. If it's all just going to happen when Krishna desires, and you don't have to do anything, then why would Krishna tell you to do anything? Mamekam Sharan Vraja, surrender, and so on. Why this whole chapter? Krishna doesn't have to say, stick with it despite everything. He can just keep quiet and do everything himself. That he's giving instructions implies that we have to do something. Otherwise, no point in giving instructions. There was a question or comment? No? Okay, someone else? Yes.
So much, Maharaj. Krishna says in the beginning of this verse, he says, having awakened faith in my narrations, then you can go through this process. So it seems like it's not just that you show up to the Bhagavatam class, you have to awaken faith. And it feels like Krishna is saying there's a whole process involved here. You have to put in some effort. Maybe you have to experiment and hear the narrations frequently. Maybe that can give you a deeper experience, or maybe you have to spend time with others who know about the true power of Krishna, speaking and singing Krishna's glories. So can you say something, can you comment on what does it really mean to awaken faith in the narrations?
First thing is, if he's coming to the class, there's already some faith. Otherwise he wouldn't come. Sometimes Srila Prabhupada translated Shraddha as interest. He has some interest. Otherwise, go to a football game, go do something else. But he has a little bit of faith that something may be here. So that's the beginning. All right, let me see what it's about. Some faith. Then the nature of the faith is, if he associates with devotees, then the faith grows. If he takes up, if he hears patiently, matkatasu, if he gives an ear to this transcendental vibration, transcendental message, then his faith increases. He gets a little experience. This is nice. Chanting is nice. Devotees are nice. Prasadam is nice. They have some knowledge. He gets some experience. He gets some faith. And he thinks, all right, let me do this some more. And then, as you say, he experiments. Experiments doesn't mean he concocts something, but he thinks, all right, let me try more chanting. Let me try following this regulative principle. Let me try associating more with the devotees. The things that they're saying, let me try that. That's the experiment. So the more an experiment is related to the word experience. So he experiments and he experiences. Yes, this works. This is good. So then that increases his faith. So the faith increases. His experience of Krishna consciousness increases. He gets more faith, more experience. Prajakshavagaman tanya. Susukam kartamam. The process is very happy and one experiences it. Prajaksha means directly experienced. That increases his faith. Is that okay? Yes.
The automatic question, there's a verse from Bhagavatam, Yasyasti Bhaktir Bhagavatya Kinchana, that the good qualities of a devotee automatically manifest in one who is performing devotional service. So maybe we don't wait for Krishna to liberate us, but is it reasonable to expect if we determinedly continue our devotional service, good qualities will come on us automatically?
Yeah, everything. If we continue, that means continue. I have to do things. If I continue devotional service, sarvasiddhiva, all perfection will be there. So I have to do it. And if I do it, then all good qualities will follow. Janayati ashu vairagyam jnanam cha. Knowledge will follow. Detachment will follow. So he doesn't separately pursue the path of detachment. He pursues devotional service. But he doesn't think all I have to do is devotional service and I can remain attached to my sense gratification. He tries to get free from that. So he should always be trying to make progress. He should never just remain stale, pedestrian, plodding. He wants to keep going, not just, what's the word, tread water. The goal, if you're swimming, is not to just stay afloat. The goal is to move forward. So we should make that effort, that I'm just staying afloat here. Is that all right? Oh, it's good, I'm afloat. It's certainly better than being down below. But I can't just stay afloat here forever. I have to move forward. Yes. Or whoever has a microphone is entitled to speak.
This reminds me of the Bhagavad Gita 9:30 and 31, where Krishna says that even if someone commits an abominable activity, he should be considered saintly because he's rightly situated in his determination. And Prabhupada says that it's to be expected that if someone goes on, they'll eventually have all misgivings and bad qualities removed, but this isn't an excuse to do nonsense. Can you comment on this?
It was mentioned in one of the verses today. There was a verse to that effect, seems to me. If someone finds it faster than me, you get extra points. It's 25. If because of momentary inattention, a yogi accidentally commits an abominable activity, then by the very practice of yoga, he should burn to ashes the sinful reaction without at any time employing any other procedure. Yoga means any yoga, but especially bhakti yoga. It doesn't have to do something, oh, I did something terrible, now I have to do penances, I have to do this. They should do bhakti yoga, nothing's better than that. And then he'll be purified. Yes.
Thank you, Maharaj. Thank you very much for your class. Considering the verse today, and it's something that we don't do on our own or alone, could you comment on people coming together to endeavor in these kind of ways and the point of encouragement?
Because two things. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, it seems like Krishna is very encouraging, but if you could...
it is encouraging here. Krishna is saying, don't be discouraged, keep going. There is, first before we get to the value of association, the spiritual master's direction is to be taken very seriously. The spiritual master's guiding us, pushing us also, and so one should keep the spiritual master's instructions always in the forefront, that I have to do this. Either, first of all, I have to follow these regular principles. He ordered me, I promised, I have to do it. I have to chant these 16 rounds. And then he wanted more out of me. So I have to try to do that more, not that I just say, yeah, okay, you meet your spiritual master, how's it going? Okay. No, I'm trying to do more service. Then, yes, in the association of devotees, all of this becomes possible. Ekaki amar nahi paibhava harinam sankirtan. To perform devotional service on one's own will be very difficult, but in the association of devotees, one can make rapid progress.
From your experience...
That microphone at your chest does nothing.
But
no, it's not. Don't blame the microphone.
From your experience being around for so long, the encouragement that we experience from other devotees, the importance of it, and what you saw, the effect of it, and impact in our spiritual life and growth in general.
Well, that's a big topic, and we're already into the ish part of 8:30. But we have practical experience that in what is that? United we stand, divided we fall. Right? In any endeavor, whether it's a revolution or study or business or work or anything, when we work together or when we have good, strong association, then even if we falter, then there's, in Ecclesiastes, you can look it up, there's a verse that it's better to tread, I'm paraphrasing, better that 2 or 3 people travel together, because if one falls, then the other will pick him up. But if you travel alone, you fall. There's no one to help you. So better to travel that way with 2 or 3. So the same idea. If on this journey, if we have others, then, when I trip, he'll pick me up. If he trips, I'll help him out. And then we'll get there. Last question.
Krishna says that even if adverse situations come, we should stick.
Even if adverse situations come,
we should stick to our devotional service. I feel personally, when adverse situations come, I am more prone to calling for Krishna's help.
More prone to do what?
Calling for Krishna's help and remembering Krishna.
Sure. When there's adversity, then that helps us in one sense, because then we really have to depend on Krishna.
But how do I not depend on the presence of adverse situations to remember Krishna?
Yeah, there's a verse like that in Hindi. Everybody goes to Krishna when they're in trouble. But the person who serves Krishna when there's not trouble, he's good. So we have to, by all of these methods, by association, by remembering the words of the spiritual master, by chanting, by serving, by doing everything, that sense should be there. And also by critical intelligence, because here it says, talking about inattention and getting involved in sense gratification and so on. So it doesn't have to be momentous. It doesn't have to be a dramatic, huge fall. But the devotee should always be examining myself. Am I wasting my time? I just spent 45 minutes on Facebook, going from this to this to this. And I forgot about Krishna. So that was abominable. I just, got distracted by this. I just got distracted by that. I just spent the last 10 minutes looking at that girl in the corner and thinking, wonder where she's from. And so on and so on. So it doesn't have to be, if we're self-critical, we'll see that we're not as far along as we want to be because we're still held back by our material attachments, by our past conditioning, by the modes of nature that we haven't freed ourselves from. I have to make more progress. I have to chant Hare Krishna. I have to depend on Krishna. Or by determining I have to do something. We have some vow, I'm going to accomplish this task, I'm going to distribute this many books, I'm going to start this program, I'm going to knock on this many doors, I'm going to do whatever it may be, cook this many preparations. By that determination, Krishna becomes pleased. Yes, he's trying to do something. Thank you all very much. Hare Krishna. Praise to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you, Kalakanta Prabhu. So nice to come here and see everybody engaged and engaged. Okay. Hare Krishna.